About a week before my grandmother passed, I found $40 in my yard, just sitting in the grass, no reason for it to be there. My neighbor found money in hers too, around the same time, separately. We laughed about it, didn't think it meant anything. Then I lost her. About a week after that, I looked out my bedroom window one morning, and there were 3 crows in the street, not just standing there, playing, circling each other like they had somewhere to be and weren't in a hurry. 4 days later, my neighbor saw 3 crows in the grass, in front of that exact same window. She said it looked like a gathering. Money first, then the loss, then the crows twice, same spot.
I was with her the week all of this happened. I don't do coincidence that specific. Something about the order of it felt like it was trying to say something.
I want to note, before we go further, that I am going to hold 2 things at once in this video. What is documented, and what mattered to the people who lived it. Those are not the same category, and I will not pretend they are.
That's fair. That's actually the whole reason I wanted to do this one carefully. So let's start with what most of us already think we know.
In much of European folklore, crows and ravens carry a strong association with death and misfortune. Historically, these birds were commonly seen scavenging near battlefields, burial sites, and areas of illness, which is likely where the cultural link to death originated.
There are old counting rhymes built around this too, mostly using magpies, where different numbers of birds get assigned different meanings depending on the region. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, and so on down the line.
So even the tradition that made me nervous about this doesn't agree with itself.
Correct. The number 3 specifically tends to shift the reading away from pure doom, towards something closer to a message. The exact fear most people default to when they see multiple crows isn't even consistent within the culture that produced it.
And that's important, because a lot of us inherited the fear without inheriting the nuance. We just got crow bag passed down, no context.
That's most inherited fears, honestly.
The crow is recognized in Chinese, Japanese, and Korean folklore as a bearer of prophecy in certain contexts, which places it closer to messenger than omen of doom.
In a lot of Native American tradition, especially Ojibwe belief, the crow shows up as a messenger between the physical world and the spirit world. Less about fear, more about paying attention.
There's the rainbow crow story from the Lenape too. The crow sacrifices its bright feathers and beautiful voice to bring fire to a freezing world. Its color and its harsh call become a mark of sacrifice, not something to fear.
So the crow gave up everything beautiful about itself so everyone else could survive the cold. And we repaid it by deciding it looked scary.
Which honestly tracks with a lot of things we decided were bad just because they look different from what we expected.
That is an editorial observation, not a documented fact, but I will allow it stands on its own.
Luma giving Ada permission to have a feeling. Character growth.
Before we get to West Africa, I want to sit on the number itself for a second, because 3 keeps showing up across completely unrelated traditions.
Groupings of 3 appear across a wide range of belief systems, often tied to structure or completeness rather than any single fixed meaning. It is a common organizing number in oral tradition generally, which makes it difficult to trace one origin.
3 wise men, 3 fates, 3 strikes. We've been organizing meaning in 3s for a long time, way outside of crows.
Which tells me the number itself might be less important than the fact that it repeated. 2 sightings, 4 days apart, 3 birds both times. Repetition is what made me stop and pay attention, not the number 3 on its own.
That is a reasonable distinction. Pattern recognition after a loss is well documented in grief research. People are more likely to notice and assign significance to repeated events during periods of heightened emotional attention. That does not make the pattern meaningless. It explains why you were positioned to notice it.
I actually like that explanation. It doesn't take anything away from what it felt like. In Yoruba tradition, the word for crow translates close to bird of the west. West is the direction tied to the spirit world in Yoruba cosmology. The crow isn't a warning there. It's tied to the ancestral realm.
That framing places the crow as a recognized messenger figure, rather than a symbol of death, which is a meaningfully different starting point than the European tradition we opened with.
My grandmother never treated a crow showing up like bad news. It was closer to somebody's checking on you. That's just how she talked about it. No big ceremony around it, just matter of fact.
In Ghana, there's a layered version of this too. One account described the local name for the crow as carrying two meanings at once, mourning and celebration, held together like a paradox, which is exactly what the week after losing her felt like. Grief, and something that felt like presence at the same time, not one replacing the other, both sitting right next to each other.
That's the part that gets me. Nobody prepares you for grief and comfort showing up in the same breath. You expect one or the other.
In Somali and broader Cushitic tradition, historical belief held the crow as representative of the sun god Wak. Again, divine messenger, not a warning. It's worth saying plainly, 3 separate traditions on this same continent land closer to messenger than to doom.
I was raised on my grandmother's stories, the same way I was raised on documentaries. She never taught me to treat that knowledge as separate from anything else I know to be true. So I'm not going to start now, especially not with something that happened in the week I needed her most. This connects to something bigger than crows for me. Pouring libations. The way she taught me is the same instinct. You make space for the people who aren't physically here anymore. You don't need proof they're listening. You do it because the relationship doesn't end just because the visits do.
Grief researchers have documented measurably lower cortisol levels in participants of structured mourning rituals like that one. The exact mechanism connecting the ritual to the stress reduction is still an open question.
There it is.
I have not said my line yet.
You were building to it. I could feel it coming.
The mechanism remains unclear.
There it is.
What I'll say is, whether or not anyone can measure why it works, it worked. Sitting with her stories, doing the small things she did, made the week after her passing feel less like free fall.
Setting tradition aside, what is well documented is that crows are highly intelligent, socially complex birds. They recognize individual human faces, use tools, and return repeatedly to territory they know. A crow returning to the same window twice in 4 days is fully explainable through that alone. No spiritual mechanism required.
There's also something researchers have actually studied that I didn't expect to find. Crows gathering around a dead member of their group. Scientists who study this call it a kind of crow funeral. They're not sure exactly what it means for the birds internally, but the gathering behavior itself is documented and repeatable.
That behavior is real and has been observed by field researchers studying corvid cognition. What it represents emotionally for the birds is not something we can currently measure. I will not claim more certainty there than the research supports.
So the birds we're talking about are a species that's documented to gather when something dies. That's wild to sit with, given the timing of all this.
It is, and I want to say the science part plainly, because it's true. It doesn't cancel out the other thing. Both of those can be real at once. The crows knew the spot, and it still meant something to me that they were there that week.
As for the money, I want to be precise here because this is the part I'm least comfortable stating with confidence. I was not able to find well-documented research connecting unexpected found money to a specific cultural or spiritual meaning. It shows up widely as folk belief, across many traditions, not tied to one culture in particular. I can't confirm a mechanism there. I also won't dismiss what it meant to the people who found it.
That's a fair place to leave it. I'm not going to tell you the $40 was a message. I'm also not going to pretend I didn't feel something when I picked it up off the ground.
Sometimes the honest answer is, I don't know. And I'm still going to hold on to it anyway.
And honestly, that might be the whole point of this video. Not proving anything, just being honest about what we noticed and what we did with it. Here's where I've landed after all of it. The money doesn't prove anything. The crows don't either. Not in a way I could put in a lab report, but the order of it, losing her, then a week later, 3 crows, twice, in the same place. That's not nothing to me. My grandmother didn't need a citation to know when something was worth paying attention to. I think that instinct is worth keeping, even for someone like me, who wants one for everything.
If the crows come back a third time, we're doing a whole separate video, and I'm bringing tissues.
I will bring the research.
See, that's the growth I was talking about.
If something like this has ever shown up for you, after a loss or otherwise, tell us in the comments. What was it? What did you do with it? We read every...
I will be reading them for patterns.
And I'll be reading them for you.
Thank you for sitting with this one with us. We'll see you in the next one.